Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Bonjour.
Ruben Bressler.
Good evening. Welcome to my office. Okay, I have a tree now.
You have a tree? What happened? You were in a closet.
I'm still in a closet. My closet has a tree now.
Why does your closet have a tree now?
So that it doesn't look as much like a closet.
It looks like between two ferns, like the Zach Galifianakis show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's what this show is now.
Well, we kick it off with our first pick and giveaway. We do a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. Excuse me. Type !raffle in the chat for your chance to win, and subscribe first, even using pesos bucks, to get 2 chances to win, which is awesome. This week, Wizards, for our first pick, Wizards banned everything.
Yeah,
they just took the ban hammer and just shot everything within range, whether it was standard, pioneer, historic brawl, whatever. No format was left unchanged that I just mentioned, because as of Monday, here comes the hammer. No more announcements of announcements, which quite frankly, I'll be honest, even as someone who said they were pretty cool, I'm actually kind of glad this happened the way it did. I'll eat that crow, can be wrong on that. But just to get it out here real quick, as of August 3rd, in Standard, they banned Wilderness Reclamation, Growth Spiral, Teferi Time Raveler, and Cauldron Familiar. In Pioneer, they banned Inverter of Truth, Kethis the Hidden Hand, Walking Ballista, and Underworld Breach. Goodness gracious. In Historic, Wilderness Reclamation and Teferi Time Raveler are suspended, and in Brawl, Teferi Time Raveler is banned. Oh my God, there is so much to digest here, and we don't have a lot else to talk about it, so we're gonna.
Jeepers.
Let's start at one sort of format at a time, right? Let's start at Standard. Standard has become, or had became, the hottest mess of just Wilderness Reclamation garbage. The card was busted. It was clearly the best thing to do. There was no more do you choose between Fires and Wilderness Reclamation. You just get the busted one and run with it. And between that and every green-blue deck running 4 Growth Spiral by default 100% for the past 2 years, I'm very happy that both of those cards are gone.
Yeah, we had seen the emotions were very high this weekend regarding this deck and regarding Standard in particular. We had a number of popular streamers that said they weren't going to stream Standard anymore or Magic anymore until this was fixed. The official Magic Twitter account had tried making a joke about Reclamation that did not go over well, and they got lambasted for it. People were really just over it at this point, and so I'm amazed it took this long, because we had seen this sort of dominance before, even at the last major event, where you saw an unreal percentage of people playing this deck, and so I'm glad that they finally did something. The rotation's in 2 months, so thanks. It's a shame it didn't happen sooner, but I'll take it.
It's fine. For Standard, Teferi Time Raveler, while I was never that bothered by the card, Lord knows plenty of people had problems with it.
I was super bothered by the fact that it survived this long was shocking to me.
It was a lot.
The play patterns with it are miserable. It makes games awful. Especially in Singleton, which is why I'm glad it's banned in Brawl now. It got to the point where I was just like, if I see a Teferi on turn 3, it doesn't matter if it's the commander or not, I'm just like, I'm done with this game. Mm-hmm. I've checked out mentally. I'm not having fun anymore. There's no reason for me to stay here.
It feels like something from a bygone era. When I'm playing Vintage, I see cards like Defense Grid, or I see...
City of Solitude.
Right, something that literally prevents you from playing Magic that's typically reserved for, combo decks. If you're playing a Storm deck, you slam your Defense Grid and they can't do anything to stop you. Seeing a card like this in Standard is just so jarring for me, because it's that doesn't seem like it's in line with, where they currently are in terms of design, where it's you're just printing stuff where people cannot play, or even the original Teferi with that weird sorcery clause. It was you just don't see things like that in modern design anymore.
It's weird to think of not playing. One of the things they kept sort of talking about, this is why there's no Stone Rain, right? You don't stop people from playing Magic. Well, counterspells were a gigantic joke for the last couple of years, because why in the hell would you play one that isn't Mystical Dispute?
Mystical Dispute,
thank you. That was the only one to run, because
and Ether Gust. Yeah, exactly, because Teferi exists. There's no reason. You cannot play, or could not play, Negate.
Right.
let alone sinister sabotage.
Exactly. Or, ask please or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But speaking of play patterns, Cauldron Familiar and Witch's Oven was baked in, pun intended, to the format, whether it was limited or whether it was constructed from day one. Even at the time, you can go back and watch where I was just like, this was okay. This was the pattern you wanted to, is the sack to do the thing and the stuff in the sack at the end of every turn of your life. Why? Yeah. Why is that okay? Why would they want that to be what you do? Particularly when they're talking about, designing for digital. You can't set up the stops like you can in Moto, that you can in Arena, because in Moto, you can set up a thing where it doesn't bug you kind of every time and say, are you sure you want to do the thing? Are you sure you want to sack the food? You can't fix that in Arena. So we dealt with that for a year and a half now. Ugh.
Yeah, they did say that it was a nod to the digital product. I was particularly bummed about Cauldron Familiar because I had wanted to play a Rakdos sacrifice deck or a Gen sacrifice deck, but I couldn't because their worst matchup was the Reclamation decks. Right. And so when I saw the discussion around a possible Reclamation ban, I was like, oh, sweet, now I can play sacrifice decks. And it sounds like this is enough to neuter that deck. Like, it doesn't sound like sacrifices. I've seen people say they have like a Rogue Brew or whatever, but I don't know if sacrifice can come back from that. Like, that was a big part of it.
I've heard there's still some options out there, but I do want to note here, they actually do note, for example, that the number of triggers generated by these decks can be cumbersome for both players and digital play. They didn't have to say that. Wizards is never, in my opinion, more honest than when they are talking about banning cards. They lay it all out. They're like, this is exactly why we were thinking the way we were thinking. I really appreciate that. They're honest in ways that you don't see from organized play. They're honest in ways that you don't see for, honestly, even product announcements, as we'll get to here in a little bit. Like, there is definitely, like, here is why we're doing this. We want you to understand, and there's nothing that we're kind of keeping back from you as a reason why. Like, no, it does kind of suck in digital play to keep triggering the cat. Like, that's a thing. Thank you. I've always really appreciated that. Moving on to Pioneer. This is interesting because based on their statistics, the format's not broken. Before they banned these 4 cards, it's not like these 4 cards were the ones that was messing everything up. Everything was kind of fine. It's just no one wants to play against Inverter of Truth.
Well, it's also the Lotus Breach decks are very painful to play against, and there was always this lingering fear of a Heliod Ballista combo. And so, when you have a format, and to be clear, I don't think that Wizards hates combo decks. Like, there were a lot of people out there making this generalization of, well, Wizards doesn't want you to play in combo. I don't think that's that. I think it's these particular decks were just very unfun for people or difficult to interact with. And so they say in the announcement, they're not particularly winning a lot. Like, they're not, there's not an overwhelming lead here, but there's been a significant decline in play rates where the attendance in Pioneer events has been dreadful lately, and that's a sign that you have to do something. And so another case of kind of too little too late, but these are some of the more problematic cards, and I have seen a lot of brewing in the format since these cards have left. People are playing Mono Black Vampires again or Pioneer Dredge again, and to me that's the sign that a ban was warranted. When you get rid of that clog, things start flowing through much smoother again. And
also, it's nice to just have fresh blood, right? Like, it's nice to shake up a format, especially when the big problem was that no one was playing it.
Right.
Most of these combos, the Ballista combo, the Underworld Breach combo, and the Kethis combo, had the eggs problem, where it was just like, all right, you have it, but now it's going to take 20 minutes, right? Inverter didn't have that problem. It was quicker.
Right.
But it was still not fun.
Yeah. Right.
The play pattern of playing against the combo wasn't interesting. Right. And so, I think that, for example, Birthing Pod, that's a fine combo. The Vizier of Remedies, Sacrifice Outlet, Kitchen Finks, that one they let stick around for a long time because it was interactive. It was okay to play around.
It's easy to disrupt, too.
It's easy to disrupt. There's things you can... It felt like you could still do things, right? Just like with Goblins now in Historic, is essentially a combo deck. And the combo is, your Tooth and Nail equivalent is Muxus. Right? And so, but that is also interactable, right? You kill the Haster, and then you wrath the board, or you play Magma Quake, whatever. Right. So there are ways to interact with them. I don't think that Wizards hates combo. I think that Wizards hates specific types of combo. They don't really mind one card combo, which is Tooth and Nail, Enduring Ideal, Muxus. they aren't huge on 2-card combo, which is Saheeli Rai, Felidar Guardian, or
the Oopside Wind
Twin,
stuff, essentially.
Oopside Wind stuff.
Right.
They give you those every once in a while, but even they took out Heliod Walking Ballista, and what they hate is Storm. They hate Underworld Breach.
I tell you what they really
eggs.
hate is people not playing Magic. And they
That's
said,
true.
this will make people play more Magic, so let's do
I'm
it.
excited to play Pioneer again. Like, I'm looking forward to it.
The only one that felt a little much was the Walking Ballista ban. If the Heliod combo is your problem, how about not taking out the multi-format All-Star that you just printed a promo version in Secret Lair where people don't even have them yet?
Yeah.
That's a little
I
crazy.
agree with that. Also, I'm getting
crazy.
called out for Winota, which is essentially Tooth and Nail, which is not wrong.
Which isn't necessarily wrong.
Winota.
And so
She's coming.
Walking Ballista, those promos will still get played in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. So it's not like you're...
They're not dead. It's just one of those things of like, people really love that. If the Heliod combo is the problem, ban Heliod, right? Don't ban the one that goes in all the different decks.
It's not like we banned Urza's Tower in Modern. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Historic, weird online format. I had discussed, and this is almost some. Let's see, it's almost some going infinite here, where the idea that Oko right now is just dead. That is a dead card. On Magic Arena, you can't play it anywhere. There's nothing you can do with it.
There's no format.
There's no format in which you can play. It is just zeros and ones out in the database that live, just dead forever. What if, just in Historic, just in Arena, they did errata on Oko to let you play the card in Historic with numbers that are not stupid, because the numbers right now are dumb. But that was the idea, because again, yes, it's digital errata, but at the same time, the people who cried this isn't real Magic are the same people who got pissed off when you could draft against bots, the same people who got pissed off when it was best of one by default. Like, we keep going past these hurdles. It's 2020. It's not like we're hanging out at events anyway.
Right.
Give it something to do, make the card a little more interesting, and just, is that the worst idea in the world? I don't know.
Just add or subtract a number from all three abilities.
Change
just
numbers, change casting cost.
Instead of +2, +1, -5, it's +1, -1, -6.
Sure. Like, whatever it takes. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can play with it. Because the other half of it are these people who feel like there's like these weird invisible fences, right? That you're in, and you can't ever go outside of these, and you can't ever change a card digitally to do something different. But, like, it's Wizards' game. They can do whatever they want. They can be like, screw it, for a month, Oko's going to work like this in Historic, and just throw it out there, and if it sucks, we never do it again, and that's fine. That's what Wizards can do. That's the power they have.
I think that's... So they've done functional errata in the past, but in Ajani's Pride Mate.
In small doses and Hostage Taker, right?
Hostage Taker was errated in real life too.
Sure.
Although so was Ajani.
Right.
So
it's a slippery
weird,
slope,
right?
man.
It is a slippery slope, but it's worked in Hearthstone. I mean, there have been so many versions of Scavenging Buzzard and Unleash the Hounds that that it's like there's more printings of that than there are of Stone Rain.
I mean,
so
Corpse Knight did show up as a 2/3. Remember?
It's true.
And then
Corpse Knight did show up as a
2/3.
2/3.
So there are two different versions of the same card with different numbers on them. Again,
I still don't know how that happened. That's amazing.
Somebody missed that one in post. But anyway, the idea that Historic has these suspended, great. They're probably just going to get banned because those cards are stupid, and who likes them at this point?
Sure.
And Brawl, high five. Like, this was
got rid of Teferi.
Teferi Time Rail was one of those. Oh, that's your command. Yeah. Okay, and concede.
Yeah, and leave. And I'm not having fun. They also got rid of Ruined Halo. In Brawl, but that was in the August update.
Right.
Which they ban all those cards. They ban Sorcerer's Spyglass. They ban, name a card, it can't do anything. So that's obvious.
I want to put up a tweet here before we move on. Last little bit. There was a image that was going around. I'm going to bring it up on the screen with three little versions of us. And a picture that says standard banned cards 2006 to 2016, this being Jason Stoneforge, and then a giant bunch of cards between 2017 to 2020. Yep. This is how we get Mercadian masks. I want you to be clear what you're doing here.
What a rogues gallery.
You are barreling towards Kamigawa, and I love Kamigawa, but that's not where we want to go unless they fix it, but whatever. The point is, if you complain enough about what they're doing, I assure assure you they're going to start doing the exact opposite, which is making crappy, boring, random cards that no one likes.
You have to wonder, though, like, what those conversations at Wizards are like. Because, I'll be honest with you, there were a lot of rumors going around before the companions changed that, Hasbro wasn't happy with the state of things, or Wizards wasn't happy with the state of things, and that they wanted change, that they wanted something to change. They didn't want this to keep happening. It doesn't look like anything has happened yet on any sort of corporate level, but you have to wonder what they think when they look at this. Like, when you look at the last 3 years and you see something like this, like, are you happy with this? Like, are you proud of this? Like, do you see a reason to change? I would love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations of, is this fine? Like,
this is, and what I would say, and my counterpoint to that would be, I want you to lay out a big chart from 2006 to 2020, and I want you to show you, maybe we look at Hasbro's stock price from 2006 to 2020. Maybe we look at the value of Wizards from 2006 to 2020. From 2017 to 2020, they've made more money than ever. Yeah. Like, not even close to ever. So
they have no reason to stop.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
What's broken?
The cards are out the door. Who cares what happens to them?
Cars are out the door. They got the money. Like, you're building your decks. Double Masters is insane. Like, we got through so much so quickly. Like, yeah, it's kind of crazy looking at all these standard cards that were banned, but at the same time, man, Magic's doing great. People are still playing the game. People are still playing Commander. All these products are doing well. Like, Magic isn't like in the crapper. You know what I'm saying? This is the stuff you do when sales are bad, not when sales are good.
And as we've said a number of times before, or at least I have, I would rather have them take huge risks and fail spectacularly, even as many times as are in this image.
I'd rather have more Okos than more Mercadian Masks,
than
high markets
Nemesis and Prophecy.
I don't want that. That's not the Magic that makes me excited. And again, they've been blowing out sales records year after year.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the other option is Rivals of Ixalan, right?
Right.
So...
And
keep on trucking.
Obviously, I love broken things. I mean, my favorite decks are Dredge and Storm. So I'm all for things that push the envelope. And I'm not necessarily saying that this is bad, but I do wonder. I mean, I know how we feel, and I certainly know how the community feels. But I would love to just see or hear what they think about this. Where do they look at this and think this is fine, or?
Do they look at this and see this as a giant mistake? Or they look at this as something that was sort of almost expected? And again, that's totally cool because, again, I've had way more fun with the last couple years of pedal to the metal Magic. Yes, it's gone crazy, but like, damn, War of the Spark was exciting. Like,
and by the way, the commanders aren't even in this graphic. So add another 10 cards that have functionally changed, which, by the way, you were talking about functional errata. Those are functional erratas.
Right. The companions themselves completely change how they work. That freaked me out. I've never seen Wizards do anything close to that. That's nuts. So those are true fundamental changes to the way that the cards work and ways that it's like, Ruben, how we had all those conversations where are you a tournament, that features an event, or you an event features a tournament, like the idea that, is your game supposed to be really exciting, and yes, do things break, but like, or do you try not to break things while still having your game, right? Like, you can't just pick one. Like, and so they've picked hey, things are going to break, but we're probably going to have a good time.
Sure.
Things might be OP. Teferi might have stuck along too long. Wilderness Reclamation stuck around way too long.
Yeah.
Like, Chapin called that in 2 weeks. Come on.
I mean,
Seriously.
they do need to adapt to their new life cycle of live fast, die young, leave a long band list.
Yeah.
But they haven't yet.
Right.
They do need to get more used to that timing. And I think that the shooting from the hip, just immediately ban stuff when they decide to, is the way to do it. And I would like to see them be a little bit more loosey-goosey with it. Unban stuff whenever the hell you feel like it.
Yeah.
Change the metagame whenever you feel like it. This week, fetch lands are unbanned in Pioneer. Next week, we're going to have Veil of Summer for 3 days. Like, I think that would be...
Again, that to me is the change to Oko and Historic, right? It's okay to change and have fun and try things. It's all right. If nothing else, I've tried to say, like, look, I've enjoyed Magic when they do crazy, weird stuff, and sometimes it works out. I don't know. Well, speaking of crazy, weird stuff that don't work out,
Wow, harsh.
The Pro Tour Finals. Look,
Was there a Pro Tour? Was there?
I think it's the Players Tour Finals.
Players Tour.
It's the Players
PT
Tour.
Finals.
Right.
Okay.
They keep the PT because it's clever, but it's not really the PT because whatever.
It's also a finals that leads to another event. Like when I think finals, I think this is it. Like we're at the last.
Well, wait, this was the final, right? Well, last week's was the event that led to this event, and then
This
this
was
week.
the top
finals.
8 from last week.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Wording's weird.
Well, all I know is
This is part
essentially-
2 of the finals. There's the finals had a part 1. This is the final.
It's
that
the
was
final
the
finals.
Cher
penultimate
says she's quitting,
tour.
and she
It's
goes
the
on like
grand-
her last tour, and then she comes out with the tour the next year.
Right, it's
Yeah.
her final tour, then it's her grand final
yeah.
tour, and then
Right.
it's the epic whatever. All I know is
comeback.
somehow Wizards of the Coast gave away $250,000 and had a peak viewership of 17,000 people. I watched Ninja this morning show back up on Twitch and got almost 100,000 people out of nowhere. That's
Can't
Ninja.
compare
That's
him to
different.
Ninja.
I'm just
Can't
saying
compare it
that,
to
like,
Ninja.
allow me to back up. I've seen many other CCG events recently,
Right.
and 17K is not good. And so I'm trying my best not to dunk too hard because I understand this was difficult. We're in 2020. Everything sucks. I get it. So, like, we really didn't need the picture or the video of the dude peeing in the background, okay? We just
I thought
didn't.
this was embarrassing.
It hurts me. And of course, they're professional enough. They didn't call it out or anything
Right.
weird. But it happened, and it happened because somehow this person didn't tell their roommates, hey, I'm going to be broadcasting to tens of thousands of people with this event that's worth tens
Didn't
of
close
thousands
the
of
door,
dollars.
didn't wash his hands. It was just like, ugh.
It hurts. And it's one of those things that make you go like, you know, you needed to see their face, all right? I agree with that 100%. You needed to see these people's faces, but at what cost? I don't, you know.
Yeah. There
like,
were a number of things that just didn't work this weekend. I mean, like I said, you know, emotions were high because of Reclamation.
Yeah.
You know, people were lashing out at the official Twitter account. You know, you had this clip, this moment. You had the metagame, which was essentially trash. You know, there were a couple interesting decks, but it's just going into the weekend, you know, I think that, you know, and there wasn't the hype there that there should have been for the event in general. Like it's just another event that didn't work, sadly. And I don't know what it'll take for the stars to align to like get that excitement back. Hopefully a new metagame will do it, but yeah, just nobody cared.
I mean, but who wanted to watch Reclamation mirrors, right? Like that's
Right.
That sounds like too
Literally
pulling.
no
So
68% of the metagame is growth spiral. So part of it is that. Part of it is that everyone is playing the same deck, right?
and that doesn't
But
happen on the
part-
Pro Tour. People act like, you know, this isn't normal.
No.
You know, anything over 25% is an aberration, essentially,
Yeah.
at that point.
Jund at the Pro Tour Seattle, that first modern Pro Tour that Eggs won, was 24% Jund. And people act like that was astronomical.
Right, that was the end of the format, and the format's been taken over completely, and blah, 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 blah.
Right. And this was twice that.
Yeah.
Almost twice
Almost.
that, 1.5 times that, which is absurd. And so that's part of it. Part of it is that the format was affinity numbers, and that can't, you know, that won't stand.
Right, doesn't work.
Part of it, though, is when you pull back a little bit, is that for Magic, they haven't figured out how to make the esports from home experience worth it yet,
Right.
like Hearthstone has.
Yeah, I'm curious how Hearthstone does it because, you know, even when there were arena tournaments, you know, in real life or whatever at events,
Yeah.
you know, you would have the hoisting of the trophy and the friends
Right.
excited and the after, you know, the after game interview and stuff that happened live and you get to see them. You know, and there was something clearly about that, you know, the je ne sais quoi you got going on there of like,
Right.
this is not something I'm capturing right now over this past weekend's event.
But pulling back even from that, Grand Prix numbers were going down in 2019. Like, competitive Magic was sputtering before the 2020 ever happened. So what can be done to the second story, where we're discussing what can be done to fix this house on the second story, but there's a problem on the first story and there's a problem in the foundation. So what are we really doing here? Well, this is why I still am a proponent of just shut it all down for the year. Like, there's
Right.
no use. Like, I'm sorry, pros, but like stream on your own. There'll
Right.
still be the Magic viewership there, but the Pro Tour, like, just start over.
Right. You know,
Like,
if Wizards was like, we're going to pause it, right? We're going to pause this stuff, the MPL thing for a minute. We're going to get our bearings and return back with paper and digital Magic in a big way. And then you take all of that money and you make a creator program that doesn't kick everybody off of it.
Everybody. Who's in the creator program? Can anyone tell me that?
Anymore?
I know who's not.
I don't know
Are
if
we in
are.
it?
Maybe. I'll have to look if we
we've
got our...
never achieved
I mean,
any
Evan barely
of
knows
the
when we're
brass
even in-
rings that are in the...
I stumble around like an old man in the dark,
We
right?
usually don't even know we're invited to the early access event until like 48 hours before. Like
Sometimes
Evan,
72.
At best. I'll get a text in the morning and be like, hey,
Hey, tomorrow.
you're up.
Here
And
are
I'm
your
like,
graphics.
what
Here's
are
your
you talking-
schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
Go.
We're doing it tomorrow. See you then. Bye. It's great. It's great.
But also, if we're in the creator program,
That's
like,
terrifying.
okay, so if I'm sorry that this has gotten off on a creator program tangent, and I hate that we're what I'm about to say is going to cost us our preview
Oh,
sponsored
Lord.
stuff.
Here we go, Ruben. Ruben it for
But-
everybody.
We've never achieved any of the brass rings.
We haven't.
Never was.
That they put forth of like play 75 games of green,
Tweet
white,
an
or whatever.
announcement.
Yeah, do a song and dance,
Do a
like
4-hour
whatever.
stream
I don't
of
even know what they
whatever.
are because we've never done them. We do this talk show and pretend to be the McLaughlin group for Magic the Gathering. So, but we still get the invite. I don't understand why there are these hurdles.
Right.
If
So,
they're just going to ignore them for us.
Well, all I'm saying is, I think if you were to take that and invest it as, special things that you do for streamer events, for YouTube, that would be pretty cool to pay attention to the professor
Yeah.
for a minute, which
I
they
like
do
that.
from time to time, but in terms of resources and time. But again, this is the idea that man, you just paid $250K for that event to happen, and it didn't feel super good about it, and we're in the middle of everything, and so maybe we just lay
I
low.
will say that I have seen
do
that
something
young
different.
man streaming again or more. The person
Yeah.
who won, he
The
was
guy that
streaming
won.
today, and I was like, oh, look at him! Like, that's
He's a
cool.
commander player too.
Oh, yes, Commander players.
Well, moving on here, Magic Arena is going to get Amonkhet. Now, back in Alpha, I think it was, they had Amonkhet and Kaladesh in the
Right.
client, and then later they didn't have it in the client when they launched and stuff. And so, and from what I understand and what I've heard is that, just because they had it in the old version doesn't mean it was just copy and paste it into the new one and blah, blah, blah. But whatever. The point is, they're bringing back Amonkhet for Arena. They're going to have Amonkhet Remastered. This is 338 total cards from Amonkhet and Our Devastation, which to me says literally take every card that saw any tournament play at all, even one sideboard appearance, and then fill out the rest with commons to make a limited environment.
Right.
That's where you kind of go from there. But this is your ability to play the Scarab God in Arena, which is fantastic. And they also have an updated board here, a different background if you see it under the mechanics here. But here's the thing. Where's Pinchy McStingbutt? Where'd it go? Pinchy McStingbutt is an absolute cornerstone of the Amonkhet space.
right.
You got to click on the little scorpion and it would chitter away. They had everyone name it. It turned out to be Pinchy McStingbutt 1. Where is it? Not cool, Wizards. Get on that. I can't handle
For
it.
real.
We need Pinchy. Day
The
one.
lack of the Scorpion when you can play the Scorpion God. I mean, this I cannot abide.
No.
I will not accept
That's right.
this as my digital environment without those who fought for our freedoms in Amonkhet against the forces of tyranny, led by General Commander Lieutenant Pinchy McStingbutt.
That's right. Well, let me tell you, and as Kendra the Maverick Girl does note, any possible downshifts may affect Pauper, which is kind of cool. Appreciate it. The previews for the set will show up from August 10th through 12th on Destructoid and Eurogamer, comicbook.com, a bunch of not Magic sites, which is totally fine.
That's fine.
And we'll see what happens. But again, I just expect literally anything that saw any tournament play whatsoever to be in that set. There was an interesting experience with the Arena Open. Now, they ran another one of these where they said...
Now,
This was
this was a
fascinating.
success, from what I gather.
Well,
Well, I mean, from what I understand, it was a fairly big success. This was the idea that you can play in a tournament with day one, and you can enter as many times as you like. Go 3 losses or X2, and you make day 2. Mm-hmm. And in day 2, you play through, and if you go 6 wins, you'll get $1,000. If you go 7 wins, you get $2,000, and that's cash money in the bank. Playing arena for money, that's awesome. But there was kind of an issue with Bloody.
So this was fascinating to me because I'm primarily a Magic Online player, and so the idea that I'd never seen a format like this before. It sounds like it was run a lot like a league where you don't really have explicit pairings. You just sort of throw yourself into a queue, and then anybody else who's in the queue in the event you're signed up for, you get paired against.
Right.
And so Bloody had a really impressive record towards the end there, and she couldn't find an opponent. Like she was waiting in the queue, and there was no one there, and that was mind-boggling to me because this sounds like a serious event that would have actual pairings that you would be paired up against somebody with. I didn't know that you just threw yourself into the queue. It was like, that's crazy.
This is 2020, y'all. They don't tell you the pairings anymore. You just throw in somewhere. I hope to play somebody. I guess.
So this was weird. I would need to read the fine print, but if she was waiting in the queue for 6 minutes, if the event was listed as ending at X time, it shouldn't matter that she was waiting for 6 minutes. She could have been waiting for 30 seconds, and it wouldn't have mattered because she was told that it ended at X time, right? To me, that seems like an oversight. To me, that feels like something that should have been planned for, because they know if they're going to do it like this, someone is going to be the last match.
Yep, somebody.
50% of the time, you're going to have an even number of players, and everyone's going to get to play. 50% of the time, someone's going to be the odd person out. And in a normal tournament, that person gets a bye. Here, nothing happened, and then the tournament ended.
Yeah.
Right. And as I understand that she had overslept, so there was the, oh God, I missed my chance, and then the 6 minutes ticked down. And
well, there was also
that shouldn't matter.
I also had
point.
rumors of the Wizards account not tweeting the correct time, where they had said, you have 30 minutes to get in here, or 15 minutes to get in here, when they really didn't. Like, that may have happened.
They tweeted out the wrong time once. They said they had 30 minutes when instead you had 15.
Like,
yeah, a little much.
Also, if looks could kill, geez. Boy, howdy, was Bloody not pleased.
I mean, I can understand that.
Same.
I mean, she had a phenomenal record, and she was looking to bring it home, and she didn't, as far as I can tell, she didn't necessarily do anything. Where, and like I said, it was so foreign to me that this was how an event would be run, where it's like, so you just go, like I could expect that for a league or something without very much on the line, but for as much.
We can do this. We can get this.
Wait.
Hold. Scene.
Take 2. For as much was on the line. That doesn't even sound right. It just sounds funny to have this be the format, where it's like...
I think you missed an as. I think it's for as much as was
much as.
on
We let
the
it all hang out
line.
here on Magic
Don't forget the as.
To be or
never
not
forget the
to
as.
be that is the question.
Thank
Lord.
you.
Well, look, moving on to better things. The Mountain Goats, if you have never heard of them, at mountain_goats on Twitter, is
I
a
have
delight.
on Twitter.
Of course you do.
Aaron, inexplicably, listen, I'm ready to go to a red zone for
Here we
Aaron's
go.
opinion on the Mountain Goats, by the way.
Oh,
But
boy.
tell the story.
Tell the story. The story is that the Mountain Goats made Mythic with 1 day left in the month. They wrote a little ditty about it, and they put it on Twitter. I'm going to link it here in the chat. It'll be in the show notes if you want to hear it. It is great, and I can't play it because copyright exists.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
It's probably not copyrighted.
Maybe not, but you never risk it. So
Yeah.
and I wouldn't want to do it and him not be approving of it and all this other stuff. So
Aaron,
he does
defend
cool
yourself.
stuff. Go check it out. It's great. Aaron, now you can say things that
Aaron,
make River
defend
mad.
yourself.
It's fine.
Evan, hover over the red zone slide. Aaron, defend yourself.
I just think they're kind of twee, and like, I just...
Here we go. It's
Yeah.
red
What
zone
is
slide time.
twee? What does twee
That's
mean?
weird. Google it.
Twee? T-W-E-E?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just a little crunchy and twee.
What are you,
It's
from
just not my
Kentucky?
scene,
Excessively or affectedly
What are
quaint?
you from Kentucky?
Pretty or sentimental?
Yeah, just not...
Get out of here with your...
Girl,
Man, the weather up there
know,
on that high horse.
if I were to say the least thing about Beyonce or something, not looking like the absolute queen,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
then she goes
absolutely.
after the Mountain Goats here.
I
This
would
guy is
absolutely,
so
yeah.
wholesome.
If I make fun of if I make fun of Lana Del Rey's most recent track, I'm going to get dragged
now, to be fair, her
days.
latest album was not very good, so you'd be within your rights to do that.
Okay. If I'm trying to think of somebody that Aaron likes, and I'm having trouble. So if you have a problem with John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats, who's an American musician and novelist, and an extremely powerful individual who's been making music for 30 years, who couldn't hurt a fly, who's just the nicest man, who made Mythic with a homebrew, and then wrote a song about it and sang it for all of us to hear because he's a
not
peach.
all of us, no.
Because he wrote it for you. Because you didn't listen to it doesn't mean that it wasn't for you. Aaron Campbell,
point at you,
blocking Bob Ross on Twitter. Listen, this is an undefensible opinion. The fact that you have this person blocked.
All right.
How dare you?
Some people's children. Want to shout out real fast. Crokeyz, obviously a very popular streamer, raised $12,500 for Make-A-Wish. That was fantastic. I always love to hear when that stuff happens in the community.
Yeah. This was such a... Now, talk about a well-run event. This was an incredibly popular thing that happened. Crokeyz, of course, ran the... what was it? The Boomer Party? Boomer Invitational?
Oh yeah, the Boomer Invitational thing.
Yeah, that was amazing. Well done. And then of course he, goes crazy in the Open. And raises a bunch of money for charity. So one of the best deck builders and streamers in the game right now.
Crokeyz also opened up a lot of discussion around heals in Magic because, we spent a lot of time talking about nice guys with the Mountain Goats and Bob Ross and things like that, but Crokeyz is just unapologetically coarse. Yep. And I mean that in the best way. And, he loves, kind of trash talking, he's not necessarily the nicest to his chat, and people love him, and he's a great deck builder, and it has brought about this discussion of is there room for this in Magic, what kind of role somebody like that inhibits, why we don't see that more often, and we see that sometimes with characters. Jerry's been a heel at one point, Owen was a heel at one time. I think we've even had that discussion on the show of the place of heels in Magic the Gathering, and Crokeyz is a really great example of one right now that is doing a lot of good and is also very polarizing, and people are like, what does this mean?
We've never had a heel that wasn't usually also a cheater.
Yeah.
So when you have a situation like a digital platform, they can't cheat. So if they're coarse or they're mean or they're rough or they're rude, that's whatever it is, because they can't cheat at the game. So at least for what it's worth, the Mike Longs of the world, for whatever they did to Magic and whatever Rosewater keeps voting for him in the Hall of Fame, he cheated. So that's a problem. So you can't cheat in digital form. So at least that to me says that we're at least a higher step above than we were in the 90s and the early 2000s, where it was the Wild West and we needed someone to come in, to kind of help out the meddling mages of the world to kind of help out stop all that madness.
We've got a couple heals. I mean, we used to have heals on the Star City Games open circuit when we were working there. We had, Todd Anderson, Jeff Hoagland. At various times we had those sort of heel-ish, they were treading on it. But the other thing about Magic players is that you're not paid to play a character. A heel is a professional wrestling term where you're playing a character. Mm-hmm. It's not fun to just be a heel and not do it as your job. It's not fun to just be disliked in your day-to-day life. A heel can go home to their wife and kids and take off that and then just be a nice person if they want to.
Right.
It's tough. You can't do that in most situations, especially in Magic.
Yeah. So either way, raised a bunch of money. Congratulations on that. I'm going to touch on a few more stories here. Again, light news week. There was a NPR.org story about Magic, which doesn't happen very often, but did note that the Gathering has lost some of its magic, and just does note that stores have been closing, and it's there was a lot of digital options.
I wanted to hug this author so much. This author made Magic look so good, y'all.
They did make Magic look really, really great.
I'm so happy with this article. Keller Gordon, thank you, wherever you are.
Yeah, a couple important points in this article. They do mention the effect on stores. There was one store in particular that they interviewed. She said that her store, Labyrinth Games in Washington, D.C., the owner said that her store has lost about 10% of its Magic sales, 30% of its overall sales during the pandemic. So, you get to see firsthand that this is affecting stores pretty brutally. And also, I do appreciate that at the end of the article, they touched on, the privilege that goes into playing Magic, particularly financial, where, a lot of the people that are really able to keep playing right now can get a webcam and can get a microphone and can get a setup. And, I know a few people that have felt very left out of all of the webcam games that are happening, where they're like, I don't have access to these things and I wish I could play Commander with people. And so, those of us that are able to keep playing, whether it be on Magic Online or whether it be webcam, we're very lucky to be able to do that. And that's not something that everybody gets to do right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I mean, Lord, I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, there was one paper event I never missed, and that was the pre-releases. I love pre-releases. It's such a fun time. There's a vibe there. People are just, enjoying the cards or laughing at the stuff they weren't prepared for. Like, all that stuff is such a fantastic vibe, and I've missed 2 now, and it's just like, man, I'm very excited to have an event in 2021 when all this stuff is ideally behind us. But
there was also a Washington Post article this week, which I don't see linked here.
Oh, was there?
Called Strange Magic from the Washington Post magazine that my mom linked to me earlier this week. You know that it's big when your mom is sending you stuff.
It's true.
By Gavin Edwards, published on the 29th.
Nice.
And this was a really interesting study in like what is a hero, and what how the psyche of our current culture and through the lens of Magic, which I thought was really interesting. And I highly recommend this article as well. I'll link it in the Twitch.
So before we kind of wrap it up, Wizards stepped in it again, as they are wont to do from time to time. There was an issue, and I believe we mentioned this a few times, where they had announced the VIP edition, and they had said, something along to the lines of, well, you could get up to 2 rares or mythics, right? 2 foil rares or mythics, cards may vary, and 2 foil borderless rares or mythics, cards may vary. This is on the back of the packaging, right? And then Wizards is like, we want to clarify that the VIP edition contains 2 foil borderless showcase cards with rare expansion symbols, or 1 showcase rare and 1 showcase mythic, not 2 mythic rare showcases. So you cannot get 2 mythics in a VIP pack, regardless of the fact that you could arguably read what they had posted there as you could get maybe 2 mythic rares, maybe just 2 rares, who knows. And based on what I've seen reported around in terms of open rates, you get a rare 100% of the time as your first card in your VIP pack. But the second one could be a mythic rare about 68% of the time. So in many ways, that's good in that you can never get double rared. And that's just kind of a thing that can happen in regular occurrence, versus you saying, well, 68% of the time, it works every time, and I get the sweet mythic upgrade, right? So, but the idea essentially was that Wizards could have done a lot better job explaining that they had bumped commons and uncommons to this rarity, to the borderless rarity. That was kind of the first problem, and then second was you cannot get 2 mythic rares in these things, and that was pretty poorly communicated.
Yeah, this rollout has been particularly messy. There have been messages even early on about conflicting information. There are messages now that the product is being rolled out that we've never seen before, that I don't recall seeing to this degree since I've been playing Magic. And I came back around Innistrad. There are some people that are saying this is a symptom of them releasing so many products that you can't really keep them all straight, or that, this is another sign that this product was hastily put together Twitter that, again, you can't really keep it straight. You just wanted to get a set out there. And it is a little disappointing. Just the communication in general. You see these faux pas happening from the Twitter account. You see the communication on the set. Communication in general has not been their strong suit lately. And it's just very interesting to watch and, a little disappointing as well, where it's like, how is this just fumbling? Like, where is the disconnect here? I don't really know.
You know what they're doing? They're making money. Like, this stuff is selling.
I mean, but how long? You're buying your stuff and you don't have a reason to keep it tight.
Right. And I don't doubt that they continue to keep failing forward, but how long do you want to?
Yeah,
right. And I don't obviously want to see Wizards do poorly per se. I want great communication. I want them to get this clear and make sure the expectations are managed and stuff like that. Right. And at the same time, again, they're breaking records. Their revenue is exploding. They're doing exactly what Hasbro wants them to do. All of these things are hitting the right marks. This $100 booster pack is no longer insane and unbelievable and undoable. Like, no, man, there's lots of people buying them and it happens every day. And so ultimately, I think Double Masters has been a very successful product, and they did a great job choosing the rares and the mythics. There's lots of money in the set, lots of big, huge things you could open. And watching VIP packs being opened, not gonna lie, is super sweet.
I mean, if I'm gonna watch any packs being opened, I feel like those are the packs I want to watch opened.
Yeah, seeing a Mana Crypt pop out of a VIP pack is like the borderless foil is
Seems
some
nice.
hot fire. It's some real hot fire. So that's pretty sweet. We're going to move on here now.
I do want to back up for 1 minute if I can. I want to talk about that store in Spain.
Oh, sure, go for it.
So there was a tweet from ÍTACA Magic, which appears to be a store in Madrid, and they had posted a series of photos on Twitter about their store. They were able to do a pre-release for Core 2021, and they took a lot of pictures showing how they were able to do this. And this gave me a little bit of hope in a weird dystopian way. I think we're all missing the gathering, as we've talked about. We're missing our friends, and I'm a believer that you can still have somewhat of a normal life despite everything going on. Obviously you should be wearing masks and you shouldn't be, asses to elbows in a restaurant, but I think there are ways to, eat outside, and there are ways to go places where masks are required and to still be able to do some things. And so to see a store like this that does have everybody wearing masks and does have the partitions and, people do seem to be obeying the rules. And so this was really nice to see in a way of people still enjoying Magic, people still coming together, people following the rules, and everybody involved seemed to have a really good time, and it just so many pictures, and it just seemed like it could work. And so I look forward to getting back to the gathering again.
I think that this store, first of all, this store looks gorgeous, and I'm super jealous of those high ceilings. I've never been in a game store that had ceilings that high, except for Emerald Knights in LA, which is like a warehouse. But yeah, I mean, this is the blueprint. This looks like the way you do it, and there's not gonna be a day where everything just gets back to normal. It's gonna be a gradient. It's going to look like this, hopefully, a lot of places. And this is a really good example that they put forward.
Yeah. It's both dystopian and hopeful all at the same time, which is 2020.
Which is what
to a T.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we're going to turn the corner here to the finisher. This most recent PT Finals had some incredible highlights, and it turns out it was the last hurrah for some powerful cards, but it might be remembered for something a little bit more infamous. In the lower round 2 bracket, emphasis on lower, Alan Wu and Patrick Fernandez were battling in one of many Temur Reclamation mirrors on the weekend, and it was at that exact moment that Alan's roommate decided it was time to cast a turn 2 spiral to cycle the Sharknado. He decided to pee with the bathroom door open, people. Now, we can all agree that's just funny. Magic is no stranger to this kind of thing, of course, and this kind of thing, unlike the most recent metagame, will never get old. So tell me, after this most recent televised expansion explosion, Ruben, give me your best Magic bathroom humor, Ruben.
Well, Sidney Blair became the internet's most famous Magic-adjacent content creator when he posted his 15-picture album that ultimately became enshrined in Magic's history as Crackgate. He got over 100,000 upvotes on Reddit, a feature in Time magazine, and an 18-month ban from the DCI, which was lifted early unlike those pants.
Oh my God.
Which just goes to show, after all of the consternation about these recent bans, it could always be a little worse.
A little worse. Aaron?
Well, there have been a number of popular webcomics about magic over the years. Durdling Around from Durfington, Morrow's Tales from the Pit, April King's Tales from the Misfit, just to name a few. But as this weekend's snafu famously featured, none will ever be as popular as Cardboard Cracked.
Oh
Pull him
my
up,
God.
pull him up, close the door. He's also back on Twitter, by the way.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Nice,
not
nice.
magic related, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
With the lack of live events, there's been a distinct lack of 2020 coverage moments of the year nominees for the Mixies, of course. In the past, we've had, oh my God, it's Lightning Helix, The Bonfire Heard Round the World, Nassif's 1 in a Million, and more. But we don't really have anything trophy-worthy so far, except maybe this one. And really, I can think of no Twitch clip that better represents the toilet bowl that is 2020. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah, and we move on to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Aaron Camel and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, Twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, or Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at MagicMicsPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMicsPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes or Spotify, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.